And welcome to Trigonometry Made Simple by QED. Today we'll be tackling the basics of trigonometry. Now before we tackle the basics of trigonometry, we have to look at the unit circle. So here's the unit circle. Here's the y-axis, here's the x-axis. Now it lies on the xy coordinate plane and it has a radius of 1. Now why is this so important? Well, if you often hear about sine, cosine, and tangent, it basically just describes the relationship between the sides of this triangle. Now, if you notice here, the radius, which is this line, creates an angle theta with the x-axis. So if you move this out, it'll become a right triangle. And recall that this is x and this is y, considering that this intersection has coordinates x, y. So what is sine here then? Well, sine is basically this. So what do we call this then? It's basically the vertical height of the triangle. So it's like how far up it is from the x-axis. That'd be the y value. And in this case, because this is 1, right? So basically what we do here is y over 1. So that will become y. And then cosine will be like this, right? So then that will be 1 times x. So that will become x. Now why is tangent mentioned here? Now tangent can basically be described as the slope of this line, the hypotenuse, which in this case is r equal to 1. Now recall that slope is rise over run. So if that is the case, that means that inherently speaking, tangent is sine theta over cosine theta. Simple, right? Or you can say that this is for better memorization. But please don't memorize your math. Math is not for memorizing. Now, if you move this triangle, it's actually really worth pondering upon. Here, x, y, 1. Now, recall that this is cosine, this is sine. So cosine square plus sine square is equal to 1. Sorry, cosine theta squared. Sorry, you have to write it like this. Plus sine square theta is equal to 1. Okay? Now we have to do some really cool stuff. So let's talk about some trigonometric identities. Now before we mention that, we have to mention some of the reciprocal identities. So sine, cosine, and tangent. Now, if you know cosecant, this is basically sine, the reciprocal of sine. And then if you know sec, that is the reciprocal of cosine. And if you know cotangent, it's the reciprocal of tangent. So if you want to ever flirt with your girlfriend, you can say, baby, you are so cosine over, yeah. And then the person can say, like, or, which means thank you. Now anyways, enough of jokes. So if you divide all of this by cosine, this will become tangent squared theta plus 1 is equal to secant square theta. Now if you do the same thing again, but by sine, this will become cotangent square theta plus 1 is equal to cosecant square theta. See? That's how the Pythagorean identities are mentioned in trigonometry. A trick to memorize the trigonometric identities. So you have sine, you have cosine, you have tangent, you have cotangent, you have secant, also known as sec, and cosecant, right? And now here's 1. So sine squared plus cosine squared is equal to 1. Now tangent square plus 1 square is equal to secant square. Now 1 square plus cotangent square is equal to this. So if you draw it in a more logical way, well then it probably looks like this, right? So that's really simple. Now let's talk about the other trick. So what is the other trick? Well, often people suffer with what they say as SOHCAHTOA, which is the most stupid thing I've ever heard in my whole entire life. Now if you memorize it, it's just sine, cosine, tangent. Really simple. This is sine, this is cosine. Cosine draws a C. Tangent is a slope, therefore it looks like that. Yeah, that's it. Okay, let's move on to our next part, which is the Pythagorean identities that I have already mentioned. And that basically sums up our video for today. If you like it, please like and subscribe. And I'm sorry if some parts are a bit messy because this is my first video. Hope you enjoyed.